Good morning, my dear students, and welcome back to the class on direct and indirect speech. In the previous class, we had dealt with the assertive sentences, and we have learned how the assertive sentences can be converted from direct into indirect speech. In today's class, we are going to see how the imperative sentences are converted from direct into indirect speech. Before we move on to the rules regarding the direct and indirect speech, we will see the definition of imperative sentences. I hope you are familiar with the definition of imperative sentences. Still, I am trying to make you understand the definition of imperative sentences. Imperative sentences indicate command, request, advice, or proposal. Once again, imperative sentences indicate command, request, advice, or proposal. I'll give some examples for it. Shut the front door. It is a command. Please pass the salt. Or clean your room. So this is what you mean by imperative sentences. It can be either a command, a request, an advice, or a proposal. So this is what you mean by the definition of imperative sentences. Now we move on to the topic how these imperative sentences can be converted from direct into indirect speech. There are some rules that you need to keep in mind while you are converting an imperative sentence from direct into indirect speech. So what is rule number 1? Rule number 1 is related to the reporting verbs. The reporting verbs said and told will be changed into verbs that will indicate command, request, advice, proposal, or prohibition. So means the reporting verbs will be verbs that will indicate or that will show command, request, advice, proposal, or prohibition. I'll give you the examples for it. That is taken as rule number 2. Let's go through this particular table. So what are the verbs that indicate command? On my left I have given the verbs that will express the different words. So command can be commanded or ordered, advice, advised or urged, request, requested or asked, proposal, suggested or proposed, prohibition, forbade. So these, the second and the third columns will give you the reporting verbs that can be used when you are converting an imperative sentence from direct into indirect speech. I hope you have understood the rule number 1 and 2, which means the reporting verbs said and told will be converted, will be changed into verbs that will express command, advice, request, proposal, or a prohibition. And what are those verbs? These are the examples for it. I hope you have understood it now. Now coming to rule number 3, the imperative structure will be changed into infinitive structure. Infinitive structure means to plus the base form of the verb. Base form of the verb means the first form of the verb. So the imperative structure, shut the door, example for an imperative structure that will be changed into infinitive structure, that you will see when we are going through the example. So just keep in mind the imperative structure changed into infinitive structure. Infinitive structure means to plus the base form of the verb. Now moving on to the next rule, rule number 4. Rules of pronouns are to be followed. I have already taught you this particular rule, rules of pronouns. Remember, the first and the second persons will be changed into third person. This is rule number 5. Conjunction that is not used generally, which means we do not use the conjunction called that, and by chance if that is used, in by chance or in case we are using the conjunction called that, should to be used instead of infinitive structure. Generally, in the imperative sentences we do not use the conjunction called that. In case you are using the word called that, what happens? You will have to use the word called should instead of infinitive structure, which means there we do not use to plus the base form of the verb. Instead of that, we will use the word called should. We'll make you clear with the examples. Now rule number 6. If let indicates proposal or suggestion, if the word called let indicates proposal or suggestion, should to be used. Once again, if the word called let, if it indicates proposal or suggestion, we have to use the word called should. Next, rule number 7. If let does not indicate, which means if let does not express proposal or suggestion, might to be used. So remember these two things, rule number 6 and 7. If let indicates proposal suggestion, we are using the word called should. If let does not express proposal or suggestion, we are using the word called might. So do not get confused. Now, so these are the 7 rules that you need to keep in mind when you are converting an imperative sentence from direct into indirect speech. Now let's go through some examples. The first example, direct speech. He said to me, let us have some water. So remember, in the direct speech there is a word called let, and that particular let does not express proposal. So when let does not express proposal, what happens? We have to use a word called might. Okay. So in direct speech, he wished, the change of reporting verb said is changed into wished, and we are using the word called the conjunction called that. Let, since let does not express proposal, we are using the word called might. So what will be the answer? He wished that he might have some water. We are using the word called might because the word called let does not express a proposal. So we are using the word called might. So these are the 3 changes that have taken place. Change of the reporting verb said is changed into wished. That is used. Since let does not express proposal, we are using the word called might. I hope you have understood the first example. Let's take another example. Direct speech. He said to me, let us have some tea. So what are the changes? Change of the reporting verb said is changed into suggested. Use of that. Let indicates proposal, so we are using the word called should. So in direct speech, he suggested, the reporting verb is already changed, said to suggested. Use of that, he suggested that he should have some tea. We have used the word called should because it is indicating a proposal. I hope you have understood the second example. Let's go to the next example. Direct speech. She said to me, please go out at once. So what are the 2 changes? Change of the reporting verb said is changed into told. Please go out at once. Infinitive structure is used. To plus the base form of the verb. What is the verb here? That is go. Go is the verb. What happens? We are using to plus the base form of the verb. She told me to go out at once. So only 2 changes that have taken place. One is the change of the reporting verb. Second, we have used the infinitive structure. Infinitive structure means to plus the base form of the verb. I hope it is clear for you. Let's take next example. Direct speech. Do not talk in the class, said the teacher. In direct speech, the teacher advised. 2 changes that have taken place. Change of the reporting verb said is changed into advised. The infinitive structure is used, which is the verb. The verb is talk. So to plus the base form of the verb. The teacher advised the boys not to talk in the class. I hope it is clear for you. Let's take the next example. Direct speech. Be careful, said he to her. In direct speech, he ordered. change of the reporting verb said is changed into ordered infinitive structure, to be careful, because we have used the question is be careful, so the indirect speech it becomes to be careful. He ordered her to be careful. I hope you have understood the way of changing the imperative sentences from direct into indirect speech. There are 7 rules that you need to keep in mind, and I have given you some examples, and I think these examples will help you to understand these rules properly and will help you to convert the imperative sentences from direct into indirect speech. So my dear students, study seriously. Thank you.